And joining us now to discuss Ryerson University as a city builder, there's Sheldon Levy. He's the president of Ryerson, and we're grateful to have you in that chair here at TVO tonight.
Thank you very much.
March 2008, your university releases its master plan.
Right.
What's in it?
Well, it's got a number of elements that are the principles under which the university would move forward, three in particular. One is design excellence, or to put it another way, when we build something, given that we are in the core of the city, that we have to be concerned that we build well and that architectural excellence is part of what we do for us and for the city. The second one is all about that people come before automobiles, and in it is the closing of Gould Street, and in it is a recognition that people have to take a higher priority than the automobile.
Just to explain for people who live outside Toronto, Gould Street is in your campus. It's a side street, not a major street, and you'd like to
close it
to traffic.
Yeah, Gould Street is a City of Toronto street that goes right through the heart of the campus, and our objective is to work with the city and have that street closed and make it pedestrian. And the third is intensification, and this is a bit obvious, that we don't have the land to grow wide, so you got to grow tall.
Okay, we're going to get into all this stuff right now. And Ryerson really is doing a lot of very big thinking right now, which is one of the reasons we wanted you in this chair. Making a lot of changes right now to the neighborhood and to the university that might be unprecedented, or certainly as big as anything going on in the university world these days. You said in a speech a few years ago, what's good for Ryerson is good for Toronto, which sounds a bit like, you know, what's good for GM is good for Canada. How so?
Well, Ryerson is a university that is right in the heart at Dundas and Yonge. The city streets go through us. 21 million people, believe it or not, walk in front of our campus every day. So as the city develops and the city becomes stronger in that neighborhood, whether stronger is defined to be safer or stronger is defined to be more beautiful, Ryerson is going to benefit from it. Conversely, if Ryerson, as we grow, begins to grow in a way that adds value to the city, then the city becomes stronger. So we can't, we're not a campus that could put walls around us and say, we're in here and you're out there. That's not a Ryerson. So it's really an obvious conclusion, really.
Let me follow up. 21 million.
23 million people walk in front of Yonge Dundas every year.
Every year?
Every year.
Got it.
Right.
I thought for a second you said every day, which sounded like a pretty big number. Okay, let's go through some of the things that you have changed most recently. Everybody who hung around Yonge and Dundas remembers Sam the Record Man. Yeah. And even though that store's out of business, you've bought that property. Yeah. I gather you've kept the sign, that iconic sign inside. That's for a new student learning center.
Yes.
Why do this?
Well, first of all, you say I have done things. The truth of it is that and this is not a humble statement, it's a lot of people do a lot of things.
You plural then. You plural have done these things.
That one was really important to me for about three reasons. First reason, when I first came to Ryerson, you said to people, where was Ryerson? If they knew where it was, they'd say it was behind Sam's. Well, I don't like being behind things, I like being in front. So it was really the sense of pride in who we are, that we didn't want to be behind. We wanted to be bold and edgy and right out there in front.
On Yonge Street.
On Yonge Street.
Longest street in the world.
Right.
Okay.
The second reason was that I'm a Toronto kid, if I can put it that way, and have grown up in Toronto, and I have seen that part of Yonge Street never improve. And I thought to myself, maybe I have a responsibility in talking about the improvement of our city and along Yonge Street in particular, and being a bit, I would say, almost in your face about it, and deliberately provocative of why one of the greatest streets in our country, one of the most walked by streets in our country, should it be so shabby? So I thought, you know, you have a bit of a leadership role, and you have a bit of a platform, use it. And so I did.
Okay, let me follow up on this idea, though, of where is Ryerson. I think if you ask people, you know, where's Victoria College? Where's St. Michael's College? Where's Trinity College? You know, you can point to a place on the map, you can point to a... If you ask me, where's Ryerson? That's a harder question to answer, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Where is Ryerson? You know, it's kind of all over downtown, isn't it?
Uh,
It doesn't have the feel of a kind of an enclosed campus, if you like.
Yeah, I agree with you, but if you build your university with your back to the community such that you're going to always face inside yourself, and your name isn't anywhere for anyone to see except when you're inside. A lot of people say to me, well, Sheldon, you built so many buildings. The truth of it is that wrong. I put the label on so many buildings. I've been proud enough to put the RU sign on buildings. And it is, and so all of a sudden people are waking up and saying, oh my God, you're everywhere. The truth of it is we have been there before. Now we're proud to be there and we're putting our sign up, and we are part of the fabric and the building of our city.
You put your sign up on the movie theater as well?
We put our sign up on the movie theater. We sold...
how big is that? That's an AMC theater at Yonge and Dundas?
16 theaters.
16, and it's tall. It's a
yes,
big, tall building, and you're in there too now.
That's right. We made a deal with selling the air rights above a garage, and we got access to not only movie theaters, but movie theaters that were built for classrooms. And so it was a great deal, a win-win for both AMC and for Ryerson.
Ryerson, I think it's fair to say, has not traditionally had a lot of student housing, because I gather most of the people who've gone to Ryerson, you know, either still live at home with their folks or they're of this city as opposed to coming in from out of town. Do you have an urban strategy designed to deal with that issue?
Yes, we do. What we are doing is we're working with the private sector and for them to be able to find the economic or the business case conditions under which they could build student housing. So we have one developer who has built student housing essentially on campus on Gerrard Street. We've had discussions with, I would say, a half a dozen developers, and we are hoping that they find the business case conditions on which to build student housing. For the university to be able to build it on their own, the rates that we would have to charge our students, and we'd have to get into 12-month leases, becomes very, very difficult for us to develop that business case. But we're hoping that the private sector does. We desperately need more student housing on campus.
Is my premise right that most of the students who go to Ryerson are still of Toronto as opposed to coming in from other provinces?
Well, at the undergraduate level, all three Toronto universities have between 75 and about 85% of the students that are, call them GTA resident. But now the GTA is, you could be in the GTA in an hour and a half from...
It goes up to Lake Simcoe. I know, it's a long way now. Okay, you guys made a lot of headlines with this, and I'm going to read an excerpt from a piece in the Globe and Mail about this. Ryerson University is eyeing Maple Leaf Gardens as a possible home for its Rams hockey team, and is in talks with arena owner Loblaw Company Limited on a deal to share the prime downtown site. The space-starved university, which has ambitious plans to expand its presence in the downtown core, is actively on the hunt for a location for a new athletic facility. Earlier this year, students backed a plan to pony up an extra $126 in annual athletic fees to help cover the cost of that project once the doors open. What's the latest on you guys getting into the gardens? Everybody wants to know this.
Where we are is this, Steve. The cost to be able to do what we want to do in Maple Leaf Gardens is much, much more than the student referendum. In fact, if you like the student referendum and the capital costs that it could support is about 1/3. So you ask yourself, where do the other 2/3 come from?
Not from the city.
Not from the city.
The mayor of the city is not up for that.
Absolutely. But 1/3 will come from a fundraising campaign, and 1/3 we're hoping will come from the federal government.
But the price tag on the gardens at the end of the day will be how much if it happens the way you want it to happen?
About $60 million.
60 million, I mean, that's big bucks.
Yeah, it's big bucks, but nothing will come from the operating budget at all. It will come from the student referendum, it will come from fundraising, it will come from government, or it won't happen and we'll be looking at another site.
Let me ask you a series of questions now about the neighborhoods that you adjoin east of Yonge Street, sort of in the furthest eastern part of your property. There's some pretty rough neighborhoods in that area, a lot of poverty in that area as well. I want to know, I guess for starters, how do you plan to get along with the neighbors?
Well, I don't quite understand the issue as if there is a dispute between our neighbors and us. Our intention is to continue to build the strength of the city and of the university, and really east of Yonge, although our business school is on Bay Street. As we move and we work with developers, we will always work with the community around us because it's necessary. We work with a great counselor in Kyle Ray, and we've never had what you could call opposition. We've worked it through, and I think most of the development that we've done or will be doing will be to make life better for people.
But you've heard, I suspect you've heard this in the past, where the efforts that you will undertake to improve neighborhoods, for example, will gentrify those neighborhoods, and the poor people who currently live in those neighborhoods will therefore soon have to move out because they won't be able to afford to live there anymore, and there already are, the critics say, too few places for low-income people to live in this city. So on the one hand, while you're improving things, you're also potentially making life more difficult for poorer people. Is that a fair charge?
Oh, I think it's incorrect. I think what we're trying to do is improve the quality of the life and the communities that we serve. And if the argument is that those that are in poor and communities, we should let them remain in poor communities because that's the only place for them to go, well, that's a real cop-out. I think what we should be doing, if those communities are as in bad shape as we believe they are, that we should be improving the lives of people there, not allowing them to stay there as an excuse for not improving their communities.
Okay, but in close proximity to the university are some homeless shelters. How exactly does what you're doing improve the lives of people who are in those homeless shelters, for example?
Well, what we're doing in the community is and hopefully is bringing vitality, life, jobs, opportunities, bringing the private sector in, bringing us in, that make the, I'd call it the wealth of the community in the most general sense, higher. And I would hope that it's, if we could in some ways improve the wealth of the province by whatever we're doing, whether it's creating a great community with our gallery and on Gould Street closing for tourism and bring better wealth, then everyone in the province will be better off. So I don't see it as this trade-off that what we do has to hurt someone. I think the university has such a responsibility that goes far beyond that, and I wouldn't even go there, to be honest.
Okay, in our last minute, let me read one more graphic to you here. This from the Eye Opener. Ryerson wants to transform the campus into a city builder by making the area a student district. The community, however, is divided on the idea, with some accusing the school of not consulting them, and others fearing that Ryerson will disrupt ongoing attempts to improve Toronto's Main Street and hurt business. I guess the gist of it is, why do you feel local businesses and community members should see their local university expanding into their neighborhood as something that not only benefits you, but also benefits them?
So I don't see it as a popularity contest, and I see it as a way of bringing together people to make the city and make the university the best place possible. If I could leave it with one idea, just to give you a flavor. When you walk up and down Yonge Street, imagine if you saw the type of facility or the type of structure that New York has in the Apple Store there, that generates so much energy, so much excitement, brings people in, and with it, a revitalization of our neighborhood. The last thing we want is a downtown that begins to resemble some of the worst cases in North America. So that is not even in the alternative plan. So to make everyone happy, at what expense? At the expense of a greater city? I think wrong. I think Ryerson will do its part. It certainly won't do the major part. The major part of city building will be by the city, the province, and the nation. All we're going to do is chip in and do our part and be very, very conscious that as we build the university, we have a responsibility of thinking of our neighborhood. And it's really not much more than that.
That's Sheldon Levy, president of Ryerson U. Thanks so much for coming into TDO tonight.
Steve, thanks a lot. Enjoyed it.